Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Neil, Brian, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello.
Good morning, one and all.
Good morning. Good to have you. Going to keep up our one housekeeping question of the day. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
No. Not unless dip correction doesn't exist.
Not for them, it can't. I know they beg the question in a geometric context where they're making dip angle corrections to physically refracted Earth curve edges. But in my mind, there's an impossibility there, even though you're in the paradigm with them debating about it, Brian. How can you correct from a curved line if it's an angle correction? If you're doing a dip angle correction, then the line must be straight to correct the angle. Am I wrong? Am I missing something?
Oh, no, you could do an angle correction, a dip angle correct. See, there's the problem. They're not doing the dip from their geometric globe edge mathematically. They're doing the dip from a tangent plane. So even when they start bringing up the dip, they're talking about it because they have to address the dip in reality. What does the dip corrections in the almanac address in reality? It addresses a horizontal plane. Your correction is from or to a horizontal plane that's underneath your boat. That's extending from underneath your boat out to the horizon.
Oh, hold on.
For them,
but stop.
Yeah.
At the point that they extend out a tangent plane to the horizon, that's a flat plane with the horizon.
Yeah, but the horizon, you see, remember, there's two things happening with them mathematically. They have a tangent from underneath the boat, and they also have an horizon that's lifting up from underneath the surface level to meet the tangent. So that allows them to hijack reality.
Just let me get this clear. To meet the tangent, so it's meeting the horizontal plane of reference that they call a tangent. Well, then it's still on.
Yes.
It's still on the flat plane. Then, if it's lifted up to meet the flat plane, so it can be utilised as flat for an angle correction, then it doesn't matter if they say by apologetics, it's risen up from below surface level to meet the surface level in the maths, because there's only one surface level. Surface level's horizontal in Earth curve maths, so risen up from surface level to surface level. What the bloody hell are they babbling about? Furthermore, the tangent point itself, if you're going to describe it as from your feet out, horizontally, to have the tangent-based geometric edge be refracted up, you can't have it both ways. You can't have a tangent meeting the surface and have 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet if your observer height is 0. The tangent point is at your feet. There's only one tangent in that scenario. You can't have a tangent to Earth curve and a tangent out to space, and then say the one that you're not measuring, the tangent below surface level, rises up to meet the horizontal plane that doesn't exist with regards to ground points because it's out in space. This makes absolutely no sense. Is this really where you've got with dip correction? Wow.
Oh, no, I understand what they... No, see, most of them don't understand their own dip correction. I understand it. I've studied it, right? I know exactly what they're claiming. I've shown this before. I've tried to explain it before with the actual diagrams from celestial navigation and trying to show it, and I don't think it came across. They have a tangent underneath the boat. This is how they. This is not in reality. This is mathematically how they have to hijack reality. they have a tangent underneath their boat that extends straight out from underneath the boat. We would call that in reality horizontal. Horizontal doesn't exist in their paradigm, but we'll use horizontal so we can somewhat amalgamate it to reality.
Okay, I won't interrupt. I won't interrupt, but I will say that's where it fails, because then the tangent leads to points in space, not ground positions. But carry on.
Yeah, see, the thing is, their first tangent is underneath the boat. That extends straight out into space. But the second tangent intersects that from the eye line to their globe edge, but then that is lifted up. Their horizon is lifted up by over 6R mathematically, and that meets the tangent to come straight out from underneath the boat. So they end up with a straight line underneath the boat all the way out to the horizon, and then a dip line from the eye line of the observer down to meet that line at the horizon mathematically.
That's still horizontal, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. They're correcting. So that's what they have to do to match the corrections in the almanac. The only way they can make it work is to match the corrections in the almanac.
But in reality, all dip correction is your height above the horizontal surface. That's all you're correcting.
Yes, but that's the point I've been making, which means that if your eye height is 35 feet above the water underneath your boat, then your eye height can only be, via the corrections and via what you must do, can only be 35 feet above the water at the horizon.
Right.
So that's why they must do all this mathematical trickery, so they can then have their eye line being 35 feet above the water at the horizon. But the horizon for them is not really there.
Yeah, that's also a big problem.
There isn't water at the horizon for them.
If it's a refracted position, it's not a geometric position to draw out straight lines and get tangency. And if you are going to get tangency from your feet, you've not got a second tangent position, and you're not going to mathematically derive an over 6R value. What over 6? Does it depend on the day? Well, today it's going to be 250 over 6R, because the horizon. It's like you're not doing that. Nobody's doing that. No one's calculating the distance to the horizon so they can make a geometric correction to a bent line that's an angle. This is all nonsense, Brian.
Yes, but this is the thing. Remember the other day I spoke about them having a mathematical distance to the horizon. They use 0.97, right, within the dip corrections. This is the way it's been added into the dip corrections over time, right, where that distance to the horizon, right, will match what it would be on a globe, except for it's a distance along a horizontal plane, not over a curved surface.
So it's got a measurement. It's got a straight line distance measurement attached, is what you're saying?
Yes, straight line distance measure. So there's no measurement. It's if I'm looking out from
calculation. My bad. I misspoke. Calculation.
Yeah, it's a calculation. If I'm standing on a boat and I'm 35 feet above the water underneath my boat, then there's a calculation that allows me to pre-assume that the horizon is matching a distance to an horizon that would match a globe, right? But that horizon I'm actually seeing could be five times that distance, because there's no way to measure the distance to the horizon out at sea. You have no demarcation points. You just have the sea and nothing else. You don't have islands and all this. Normally, you just have the sea. So what they're doing is they're mathematically adding in a distance to a globe's horizon, but it's a distance along a horizontal plane and not over a curved surface. And that's how they add in their globe math into celestial navigation. But it's not real. It's just mathematical hijacking of reality. So they must go through 3 different or 4 different hoops to try and hijack reality, whereas we just say it's just a flat plane. That's our eye height. That's how we correct for it. That's it.
Yeah, it's all well and good saying it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction holographic projection of the Chicago skyline, but when you're actually deriving dip corrections to a flat surface, suddenly your refracted horizon is a massive problem that needs overcoming for you so that you can include your globe faith in a very simple process that does not include refracted horizons and tangent planes out to GP positions that aren't on the ground. It's all garbage. None of it works. Meanwhile, what do we actually do? We just correct our angle to the flat plane. It's the same height above the horizon as it is above the deck when you measure it at port. That's what you're doing, and that's what you're correcting for. There's no globe involved. It's just that simple.
Exactly. If you remember the diagrams, they'd have where that straight line is coming out from underneath the boat, which would be a tangent on the globe, they have observer's horizon often written in. But then you have this other point down below that, below surface level, that they're calling the actual horizon. Do you know what I mean? It's just, all they're doing is mathematically hijacking reality. And they're saying the horizon you're seeing is just a mirage. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing. Well, that's what they have to do to fit a globe in. You know what I mean? In mathematically, you know.
Yeah, very cool, very concise. Thank you, Brian. Okay, we're gonna move on. So we're covering FTFE today. So as always, please share the algorithmic love with Craig. Excuse me, and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. If I could post this in the comments, that'd be handy. There we go. So there's a link going by in the live stream chat, and I will waffle my call to action for a little bit so that those of you who are used to the dealio can see that link. Click on it right now and go and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and just make FTFE channel aware that we have covered their video in regards to Dom Jolly. The idea being that were they to make a response, or was Craig to make a response, he would put a link to our video and share the algorithmic love that we are sharing with him, where YouTube failed to do so of their own volition. So please let FTFE know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The video is called Dom Jolly Talks Conspiracies and Flat Earth Interview with FTFE. So that's the video. Hopefully that's bought enough time for you to actually toddle along and do that and put a comment on his video. All that good stuff. Anybody got any comments before we get into it? Go ahead, Neil.
I'm going to say that he's looking for confirmation bias, this Don Jolly. You watch.
Looking for confirmation bias. Okay. Well, let's get into it. We'll see how it goes.
Recently, you seem to have taken a bit of a turn into dealing with conspiracy theories and the stranger side of the internet. What dragged you into that? What brought that side of this around?
Well, I write books, and mainly travel books. This is my fifth travel book, and I always need a.
Just for the irritation that it generates in me, you can hear me grinding my teeth while I say this. So what he's doing is he's holding his microphone, fiddling with it in the most echoey room he could possibly pick. So what we will hear from Dom Jolly, I can tell you already, will be utter garbage. So in terms of his technical ineptitude, I just want to get that irritation out of the way first and foremost. So this is it. This is your standards, right, Dom? This is what you've sunk to. Sat there looking like you're wearing a pair of pajamas in a big echoey room, fiddling with the mic that you're talking on. Wow.
Well, I asked you to pause it because I was going to say this is the very beginning of this is a poisoning the well fallacy, because they were instantly calling the subject a conspiracy theory. So straight away they're trying to put it into the realms of it's only a possibility, as opposed to it's actually measured to be flat.
That's their trick.
Reason for traveling. So I've wrote a book called The Dark Tourist, which was then nicked by Netflix in 2010, where I went off to North Korea and Chernobyl and skiing in Iran. I did a book on monsters where I went hunting the Bigfoot and the Yeti.
Yeah, there's an intelligibility scale when you're dealing with people in echoey rooms, and this is like 50% intelligibility. I can only make out about 50% of what he's saying, the words, the actual words.
And stuff like that. I did a book where I walked across Lebanon. I did a book where I drove around Britain, and this is my fifth travel book in which I go around the world hanging out with conspiracists and looking at conspiracy theories. But as a tourist, pretty much with an open mind, but not for long.
No, I like to have an open mind when I'm talking with conspiracy theorists, but it can be difficult.
What this shows is a lot of the people that are in the anti-flat Earth realm are conspiracy theorists. You've only got to look at people like Conspiracy Cats, clues in the title. You know, upon departing, after not being able to overcome our arguments about gas pressure without a container, he then went off with Ranty Flat Earth, a convert to Globe Earth from Flat Earth, to talk about ghosts and goblins and things that go bump in the night. You know, these people are conspiratards. So I would suggest that when they go out and hang out with conspiracies, that was a misspeak that was very much on point with what is going on. You're entertaining the conspiracies. Now, obviously, as we've already pointed out by Brian and Neil, it's a tiring of us with the idea that we are a conspiracy. But as I say, in reality, it's most often projection, and these people like conspiracies. Me, I don't. As soon as I got here and I found that there was conspiracy nonsense around the subject of flat Earth, I immediately objected to it all. You know, I can remember the very first foray was with Jesse Spots talking about Mandela effect, and I was all over him like flies on the proverbial because it just got my goat. It really irritated me. But there we go. We're all conspiracy theorists because the feast of nonsense for flat Earth, what some assume is a controlled opposition narrative that we are introduced to this subject with, does contain a lot of conspiracy and garbage. Now, we brace against that here, but for the benefit of, you know, keeping this concise, we'll just let that slide.
I read about...
Go on, Neil.
I was going to say, it's pretty low of Fight the Flat Earth to be calling us a conspiracy at this stage. I mean, this just goes to show how dishonest the guy is. It's like he is fully aware this is not a conspiracy. He's fully aware of NASA documents, Boeing documents, all the rest of the information that's out there that shows him he needs a flat plane, astronomy, everything requires and uses a flat plane. Yet he's trying to say that's a conspiracy. He's basically saying aerospace, surveying, celestial navigation, astronomy, GPS, it's all a conspiracy. That's what he's actually saying, but he's trying to make it out as if he's calling us conspiracy theorists when we're not, and he's fully aware that we're not.
Yeah, but I just said, in terms of the stereotype of flat Earth and what a lot of flat earthers will adhere to in the garbage that they spew, much of it we brace against, but we're the minority of minorities. So I get that I appreciate that you've reiterated it, but for now, I'm just going to give him a pass because of the stereotype.
An experience you had with someone that wanted to see the end of the world?
Well, this was a splinter group of flat Earth. It was a square flat Earth.
Yes.
Square flat earthers believe there are four corners to the square flat Earth: the island of Hydra, Papua New Guinea, Bermuda Triangle, and an island called Fogo in Newfoundland. So I found a square flat earther in St. John's, the capital of Newfoundland, and we drove all across Newfoundland, went to Fogo, went to the edge of the flat Earth, and no spoiler, there was no drop, no ice wall.
Okay. I mean, it's not exactly what we would stand by, and again, if somebody's claiming that on the square flat Earth subsection of this subject, more power to you, debunk them all you like. Meanwhile, as you travelled around the flat plane in an aeroplane that's nose up with respect to the level flight that it's taking, I can utilise your journey and show how Earth was measured flat. The heights and elevations that you will have traversed will have been measured with respect to a flat plane. When we deal with flat Earth, we deal with measurements as opposed to the kooky, unsubstantiated claims of weirdo flat earthers who say that the Bermuda Triangle represents the edge of the world that we know. Okay, well, yeah, it seems like a very convenient argument to overcome. You've overcome it. Good for you.
Well, who is this guy that no one ever heard of that he just suddenly came across and found? Do you know what I mean? I don't trust any of these people. I couldn't claim that this guy doesn't exist. You know what I mean? There's every type of idiot out there. But the fact that he needed to find the stupidest, or make up even, the stupidest idiot flat earther he could find, he could make up, that tells you a lot. If that's the best you can do, that shows me.
I don't want to be at loggerheads with you, Brian, but I'm happy to take that as read. Yeah, okay, you can cite that. It's just by objecting to it, it puts him in a position, if he were to respond, Dom Jolly specifically, who may or may not care, right? To say, no, here is that guy. Actually, he's really prominent. You just weren't aware of him. He's got 25,000 subscribers. More prominent than you. And you go, okay, fair enough. Or is he? I forget how many subscribers I've actually got. Anyway, about that number. The point is, he could easily overcome the argument by saying, no, he is real. And he is definitely known. And therefore, you are my stereotype that I lay down. It's like, okay, fine, you can have your individual example of a kooky flat earther with a crazy notion that he can't substantiate and overcome it. Good for you. I'll take that as read. I won't accept it as a stereotype, and he specifically outlined it as a subset of flat Earth. So again, pass. No worries as far as I'm concerned. I'll take it.
Well, I didn't say he definitely made him up, but I said that there was a good possibility of it because this person and this person's ideas I've yet to hear in 9 years of being in the topic.
But we've
Anyway,
heard equally
no, but
crazy
you're right,
crap, though,
you're
haven't
right.
we?
You could just phone up with
But
this
we have
idiot.
heard equally crazy crap, though, haven't we?
We have.
Right. So let's just move on.
How did the flat earther take that?
He didn't take it very well. He insisted we get on a boat and try and go out towards the wall. And we had a very confused fishing captain who said we could only go out for an hour because there was a storm coming. And then when we had to turn around, he accused the captain of being paid by someone, probably Bill Gates. It's always Bill Gates. And insisted that we'd been going around in a circle. It was all very strange.
Oh, so you became part of the conspiracy?
But he insisted that he went round a circle of an ice wall. All right, how interesting. Meanwhile, the mapping and navigating system that we are all utilising and would have been utilised with the transverse Mercator, when you popped around the various different points on the surface of the Earth, you would have been utilising the latitude grid. That's circles, measured on a flat Earth. So, depends on your standards, Dom. You can find the kooky ones and debunk them based on their assertions, individuals' assertions, that there's an ice wall. Yeah, that's you debunking some crazy kook. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, maybe the guy was just, like, see, what we're getting here is a very much kind of a, oh, he just said this and that kind of attitude. Maybe the guy was pointing to magnetic declination.
Maybe.
You don't know. Just because he's a kooky idiot doesn't mean he hasn't learned something. You just don't know. So when he says you just bring us around in circles, maybe that is what was happening, because that's what they do to flat earthers, don't they? What would they do to you? They bring you around the circle first chance they get, and then they call you the mad person. So that's what they would do. So this is just to me, this Dom Jolly guy is just a pure lowlife as far as I'm concerned. Because I'm only over here in Waterford, Ireland, very close to Dom Jolly. You could have found me. You could have found you. You're literally on the same island he's on. Nah, he went off and found some idiot in St. John's in Canada.
Well, I think I was part of the conspiracy from the beginning, as far as I can see. I don't know. It's very difficult to keep up with. It's impossible to argue with conspiracy theorists, really, because they either inundate you with facts that you can't in any way validate.
If you've been inundated with facts you can't invalidate, that means that they are invalidated facts. Therefore, what, just facts? So they give you facts. That's your argument. They just bombard you with facts you can't overcome. Oh, well, what a terrible state of affairs. I mean, it'd be miles better if they came over with a load of garbage that you could have overcome really easily, but you didn't, you couldn't, and it's really difficult to. I see. How terrible for you.
Or know whether they're right or wrong. And then if you...
Sorry. Or know, or know if we're right or wrong. I know that latitude is measured with respect to a flat plane. I know that circle of equal altitude forms the outside edge of your sphere, and the rest of the measured flat circles of equal elevation are inferred to be stretched around a global surface. They're still measured, utilised, mapped, and navigated flat. That's how the world is. I know that for a fact.
You make any sort of valid point, you're in on it. So, you know, I kind of give...
What points have you made, Dom, so far? So far, you've invalidated the kooky claims of one man, by the sounds of things.
Up after a bit.
Yeah, personally, I'm an absolute NASA shill, apparently, that is paid to lie on the internet to debunk the flat Earth, to hide.
Quite literally, you are a NASA shill. What's a shill? Someone that promotes something. Yeah? Something that isn't real, that's a con, that's a fraud. You promote that. NASA fraud. Because they claim to be in an area that can't possibly exist. You shill for the sky vacuum, Craig. You get paid in your efforts shilling for NASA. That is a fact. That is how you earn your income. I shill for flat Earth. Now, shill would infer that there's something nefarious going on. But just to contrast that I earn my living by talking about how Earth is measured flat. That's me being paid to talk about this subject. You talk about our NASA's real. They're not. they don't operate in a sky vacuum, we'd all be dead, we'd have no gas to breathe. And you get paid for doing it. But you want to challenge that assertion and make it out like it's absurd. It isn't absurd.
Hide it for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but you know, I'd love to find out where I'm supposed to get this money from, to be honest.
You get it from Google AdSense and Super Chats and PayPal's, same as I do.
Yeah,
Well, that's
I
my
just
problem.
wanted to say there before you go on. I meant to get you before you press play again. That just what you're saying there is totally valid. 100% agree, right? You're just breaking down the reality of it. But I have never heard anyone actually publicly claim that Craig was paid by NASA to shill for the heliocentrism. I've never heard anyone say it. I've never heard of anyone really thinking it. There's no need. Craig is a fundamentalist conspiracy believer. That's what he is. That's what he is. Do you know what I mean? There's no need to think that I would never have to think he's paid by NASA to do anything. NASA doesn't need to pay people like him. Those people exist all on their own. And the other thing I want to say is, wonder if someone brought Dom Jolly out to see if he could prove his globe and treat him like the conspiracy theorist with his globe. Let's see what you can prove with your globe. How far will we go before we go over the curve of the globe Earth? How will we prove we're going over this curve? Do you know what I mean? Bring him out. Put him through a whole documentary where he can't prove his globe. Because that's what he deserves. Let's bring him up in an airplane. Show us how we correct him for curvature and rotation. Let's put him onto a boat. How are elevation angles? How are these measurements working when the horizon is not the horizon of your globe and we're using horizontal planes? How is this working for your globe? Do you know what I mean? Surveying. How is he going to measure everything with parallel horizontals and parallel verticals?
You can bet your bottom dollar when he's had all this put to him, we won't be saying, oh, and Dom Jolly just came back with all sorts of irrefutable facts that I couldn't overcome. No, you won't be. I absolutely assure you.
Exactly.
I'm supposedly shilling for Bill Gates, and I have no address to send an invoice to, which is very odd. I've been accused.
Just to put this distinction in, right? Craig is invested in NASA, not the other way round, right?
Of working for NASA as well. It's very odd. I mean, the thing I really don't understand is if the Earth is flat, then why are NASA so keen to persuade us?
If the Earth is flat, well, you'd hope that the next part of that question would have something to do with Earth's flatness. Why do NASA, an entity that's got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth beyond their declarations of it being stationary in their documentation for aviation? So, okay, NASA. Let's see what he's got to say about their appeal when he's talking about the ground being flat.
Is that it's round.
Why do NASA say it's round? Well, you've just talked about a conspiracy for the last 5 minutes.
Well, NASA claim it's a flat, stationary, non-rotating plane that they're flying their aircraft over. That's what they claim. But they show pictures of a claimed globe Earth from a moon surface. So NASA, how could you ever? I mean, it would come down to which one of those can NASA prove? Can they prove they're flying over a flat, stationary, non-rotating plane with their aircraft? Or can they prove that they're taking photographs of a globe Earth from a moon surface? I'd go with the first one.
Yeah, from a sky vacuum, which we can debunk with the law of nature, known as the second law of thermodynamics.
Well, which one would they, if they had to prove one of them, they certainly wouldn't be trying to prove the second one, would they?
Well, you can't. It's a violation of a law of nature.
Yeah, and NASA aren't stupid enough to even attempt to do that.
Maybe this will just be put down to irrefutable facts that he can't overcome, and therefore he wins because of the irrefutable facts. I mean, obviously, when people put irrefutable facts to you and you can't overcome them, you win. That's how it works.
They just say it's flat. I don't understand what's in it for them. Pretend.
That's called an appeal to motivation fallacy, Dom. Not the sharpest tool in the box anymore, eh? Brain withering with age, perhaps. The humour of the days gone by with popular comedy skits. That's beyond your reach now, obviously, Dom. Because now you're just using logical fallacies, like demonstrating how stupid you are. appeal to motivation fallacy. Look it up.
Ending its round if it is flat. There seems to be no logic to it at all, which is why.
Right, no logic to your appeal to motivation fallacy. Why would they do that? No, they declare it's flat, non-rotating and stationary in their documents about aviation. Yeah? Been released to the public. I mean, maybe that's why we're here, to soften the landing for people like you who are going to brace against the fact that Earth is measured flat by NASA. That it's utilised flat by NASA. Why would they say it's curved? Yeah, that's a fallacy. Appeal to motive.
I kind of love it.
Completely. And that's something, I spend a lot of time debating flat Earth.
What, you spend a lot of time debating an appeal to motivation about NASA? Yeah, because you're invested in them. But you ask, why would I be paid by NASA? Why would anyone suggest that? No, you've invested in them, Craig.
And that is a question I've posed many times. And
so you've used the logical fallacy of motivation many, many times, have you, Craig? Wow. How amazing.
The answer I get most of the time is, they're trying to hide God.
So when asked, why would NASA say Earth is a sphere, the answer you get from your standard rank and file flat earther is they're trying to hide God. No. Now, see, what we would do is debunk the area that these men from NASA claim to be going to. That would be a sky vacuum beyond the high-pressure gas that we're all breathing without containment. A straight-up second law of thermodynamics violation. Gas-filled space. Yeah?
Craig is doing a Danny Faulkner, because he's saying that he's starting off calling it a conspiracy theory, something he knows it damn well it's not. And now he's talking about, well, what I get from flat earthers is they say that NASA are trying to hide God. It's like, I don't ever remember hearing any debate he was in. Well, now maybe it did happen, but I don't remember it happening over and over and over. I mean, that would be the same. Like, I don't even remember the question coming up of why would NASA lie. I don't even remember that coming up in a debate between flat and globe for a long time.
It's a full-on straw man appeal to motivation fallacy. So the straw man Craig's presenting is, my opponents respond to my appeal to motivation fallacy with God. It's a straight-up straw man now. That's how Craig's managed to twist Dom Jolly's fallacy into a straw man alongside an appeal to motivation fallacy.
So we have three main fallacies happening so far. We have poisoning the well fallacy, we have an appeal to motivation, and we have a straw man.
Which always confuses me, because if God's God, then I don't think we'd be able to hide him. But it's all very. There's always.
Is that so, Craig? That's very telling. As was the pause.
A reason that we're not allowed to know, and they feel very special that they've got the information.
Not allowed to know? Again, very telling about your attitude about how these things need to be understood by you. So, do you have permission to understand these things yet, Craig? I'm sure you'll let us all know once you've been granted permission to understand this.
And it is very, very interesting.
That's one of the problems with conspiracy theories, is that basically as humans we don't like chaos, and we don't like things to be a bit weird. And so
again, very telling from Dom Jolly. You don't like things to change. It would all be very weird. Now, you can project this out as though that's what the problem with conspiracy theories is, but this is you telling us how you feel, Dom, right? It doesn't take much. In fact, I'm not reading between the lines. Those are the words you used. Now, who else are you going to ascribe them to? You can only give your own personal account here. So very telling.
Conspiracy theories are very
scary, terrifying, keep you up at night, losing sleep over them. It's not a conspiracy. Earth's measured flat. You losing sleep's very real, though.
Comforting to people. They give them an idea of order when everything is chaos. It's very strange. I mean, I met a flat earther in Chester the other day, and he told me that the edge of the flat Earth was an ice wall in Antarctica, and he said you can't go to Antarctica. Well, I've been to Antarctica, so straight away that was a bit odd. But
yeah, again, I wouldn't disagree, and we suppose these sorts of arguments have been put out into the realm so that you can brace against them. Yeah, utterly absurd. Nobody's going to be proving that there's an ice wall holding all the oceans in that's 70,000 plus miles in diameter. No, nobody's going to be proving that to you, Dom. I completely agree. What we would suggest is that the idiot flat earthers who punt that garbage realise that it is just from what we describe as the feast of nonsense. Garbage arguments for people like yourself to easily overcome so you can decry the notion of Earth being measured flat. Because the actual argument to be presented isn't that Earth is measured flat, it's that we've got a frigging ice wall. So you'll overcome that and then go about your day knowing that Earth is still a sphere. No, you haven't, have you though, Dom? Here you are, talking about it on Fight the Flat Earth channel, right? And how disturbing it is, how you'd rather have order. Although you did try and seem to spin it into the fact that the general status quo is chaos, and that you wouldn't have that chaos if you were in a realm of conspiracy. That's how you seem to be positioning it, unless I'm very much mistaken.
He then claimed I didn't go to Antarctica.
Nathan, 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, he just said there he talked to a flat earther. Now, this is anecdotal, right? He talked to a flat earther in some place he was in the UK, and your man said to him that the edge of the flat earth is an ice wall. It's Antarctica and it's a big ice wall or whatever goes around. Okay. Now, he said, it was a bit strange as I was in Antarctica, but he didn't add that into it. When he says he was in Antarctica, was he in, this is just for the audience, the Ross dependency where they have penguins? Because that's technically a low-lying piece of land jutting out from Antarctica. He hasn't said whether he did or did not see ice walls, right? Because according to the globe, there is a massive ice wall going around the perimeter of Antarctica. It's just going around the perimeter of a big plain of ice at the bottom of the globe, or a big, cap of ice at the bottom of the globe. So did he actually go to Antarctica? And if he did go there, was he actually up on the Antarctic ice shelf? Or was he just in the Ross dependency, which is technically just a low-lying piece of land out off the shoreline, basically, of Antarctica? That's not Antarctica, as in, it's not the ice shelf. So did he see an ice wall while he was there? Just out of curiosity, I'm not claiming there is an ice wall that surrounds us. I'm just saying, did he see an ice wall?
Even if he did or didn't, does he validate or invalidate that there is or is not a 74,000 mile in circumference ice wall surrounding the flat Earth perimeter that is shown on the azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe taken by way of elevation angle measurements for the latitude system on that projection measured off a flat Earth in its origin? Who cares? We measure flat Earth in our origins. We take latitude measurements. They then wrap them round a sphere to what? Cut it out in a tube, roll it out back flat and show Antarctica as a strip along the bottom. But if you project it out in an azimuthal equidistant projection, suddenly what is a strip along the bottom on a transverse Mercator becomes an ice wall around your perimeter if you're North Pole centric in your projection and in your Polaris measurements off a flat Earth. So what? Prove to me that you can actually traverse the 74,000 miles and it's ice wall all the way, and then I'll believe one side or the other. In the meantime, we actually do measure Polaris for a Polaris-centric system that's areas of equal elevation in all directions, flat all the way, and it's utilised to make the maps and make the globe. Couldn't give a crap about what Antarctica is. Feast of nonsense garbage. Although everything you said was correct, Brian. I'm not decrying any of it.
Yeah, my point being is someone said to me that there's crocodiles in Australia, so it's dangerous to swim. But I was in Australia and I was swimming and I didn't see any crocodiles. Does that mean there isn't crocodiles? Do you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
It's like, that's my point. It's like the guy is completely fraudulent. And if I was, and I haven't said I didn't see crocodiles. I could say, yeah, I was in Australia, so that seems a bit strange. But that's a very nothing comment because I'm not after filling in whether I did or did not see crocodiles. That's his attitude. Sorry, it annoys me.
I showed him proof that I went, which wasn't proof for him, and then he told me that I didn't go to the places where the whole thing is so nonsensical, it just makes you tired in the end.
Yeah, I agree. Feast nonsense is designed to do that to you, just to sort of tire you out. Neutral outcome at the end, nobody's proving anything, really. Meanwhile, Polaris is a measurement system that's made all the maps and helped us navigate and expand the known worlds. Known worlds? Yeah. Might as well segue onto that at this point before we get to space, which we inevitably will in this discussion. The known worlds were navigated to with respect to this horizontal plane of reference. We expanded it out from the latitude grid right up until we couldn't see Polaris anymore. And then we utilised other navigation styles to make our way back as we found the new worlds in our recent history. Now, where they found them in the documentation of finding them was in an area back then known as outer space, the area beyond the horizon where we will and have and did find new worlds. I mean, obviously there came a point when new worlds weren't going to be found out towards the horizon anymore. They were going to be found out in the sky. All the soil's up there. Obviously, those little lights that we see there, all the soil, yeah, we can go there, yeah. No point looking out towards the horizon, what we formerly called outer space, and formerly found new worlds in. No point looking. Like in the Truman Show, just pull down the map and show you that we've all found what we could find. Nothing more else to find, right? Meanwhile, this crap argument that has been overcome by Dom quite admirably by showing that the guy's notions are incorrect, probably documented visually. Does that actually overcome the arguments for a measured flat Earth that developed the systems for you to be able to go down to Antarctica? I'm thinking, no, you'd have navigated there flat, my friend. That's how all the measurements are done. You have to have a flat Earth to be able to get the angles to the stars, including Polaris, which developed the map system in the first place. Furthermore, that development turned into your globe for you to have a little religion about. Doesn't change the fact we measure Earth flat. But maybe if you undo this notion of a straw man ice wall that's been put into the ether of flat Earth in what we call the feast of nonsense, maybe it'll seem like a win for the globe. Maybe. Till we come along.
Well, just off of what he said there, Nathan.
Yes.
Sorry. What he said is that when he told the guy he was in Antarctica, and the guy asked him where was he, and he said the guy wasn't really believing I was there. He said you weren't in the place where there was, and he said where there was whatever. He said I just got bored at that stage. He's literally admitting that the guy probably said to him, "No, that was the Ross dependency, because that's probably where he went to, where the penguins are. That is not the ice shelf." Do you know what I mean? It's not up on the ice. That's the Ross dependency. It might be cold, but it's not the ice shelf, as they call it.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
We got it. Although I was repeating myself, so are you.
He's such a liar. He's been so dishonest. The man, basically, the guy he's calling a kook, probably called him out on his nonsense.
I find it endlessly entertaining, though, and I've attempted to use it as a platform to, obviously I argue with the flat earthers.
Make money from, generate a living from, chill for NASA from.
But I like to then explain, using actual physics and science, why they're wrong. Obviously, the flat earth...
Really? So when we ask daily for scientific evidence of gravity, you've got some of that, have you, Craig? I'm thinking no.
Earthers will never agree with or understand any of it. So
well, there's no disagreeing with science if it's actually science. You know, it's empirical. The outcome of the scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis, is empirical. You either validate the cause of the effect or you don't validate the cause of the effect. Ergo, validate the null or validate the alternative. One's getting proven, regardless of the outcome. You can either prove the cause of the effect or not, empirically. So if we were... It's not that Craig's got science, just as an aside. He hasn't. He's saying it's a nice little magic word. But if he did, we'd be fools to disagree with it because it would be empirical. He hasn't got that standard. But it's nice to drop it in here, isn't it, Craig, that you go by the physics? What, the study of the physical and natural world, the scientific method? No, you definitely don't do that. We know that. Even in the face of your gurus professing to be science, telling you things like gravity's not a force. You'll even defy the gurus if it goes against your religious rhetoric of a globe Earth in defiance of natural law. That's what you'll do. Not go with the physics, go with your religion.
Yeah.
So for them, it's kind of pointless, but...
I've got to play a little bit more because I'm just playing 1 second at a time.
For the people that do watch it, it's nice that it's a way to describe physics with a bit of entertainment behind it.
I don't know. I find the actual process in description of scientific methodology, even with an outcome that's empirical, quite dull. I mean, you can say it's entertaining, but, you know, A causes B, and then showing A vary to cause B. That, to me, isn't necessarily very entertaining. It's an empirical outcome methodology that you can prove things with, though. You use the word science to prop up your religion, and in so doing, mock the people who actually adhere to science like us as entertainment. That's the reality.
I've heard some absolutely crazy things from flat earthers. I'll tell you the craziest thing that I've ever heard. I debated a flat earther that called himself Flat Earth Jesus, and he told me that the moon was dug out of the Grand Canyon by giants.
Is this compare the nuttiest flat earthers we can find? I mean, by this comparison, right, this is a bit of a low blow on my part, but just to reiterate it by descending it into the depths, right? I could easily say, I know of multiple murdering, globe-believing people in prison. That's what I could do. I could list off.
Poisoning the well.
I could, but that's what they're doing. Well, these people, in individualistic terms, are nuts. And they say they're flat earthers. Let's listen to how nuts this flat earther is. Really? Well, okay. Look at this guy who says Earth's a sphere and fully and wholeheartedly is appealing to the government because of his religious belief in a globe. That actually happened. Did anybody pick up on that? The atheists, during the eclipse, appealed for their religious faith to be adhered to. In essence, qualifying heliocentrism as a religion. Did you know that?
Yes.
Anyway.
No, what happened? The atheists appealed to the US government for something.
Prisoners
Yes,
during the
in
eclipse.
the prison system. Rikers Island.
Come on, Nathan.
You fill him in. It sounds like you know more about it than I do, Neil.
The inmates at Rikers Island said that it would fringe on their religion if they had to be locked up, because they were going to be locked down, because they said the guards would not be able to hold security because they would be too distracted with the eclipse. So then the inmates got together and said that's infringing on our religious rights. And that was atheism.
Well, I don't believe the inmates, but they got to see the eclipse. But yeah, true.
Yeah, but the judge found them favor of them. So
yeah, because it is a religion.
Yeah,
The
it's set
religious
precedent. Exactly. It's set precedent. Anyway, let's carry on.
They took the material, they melted it into quartz, and whilst it was still cooling, they filled it with helium. And that's why there's bubbles. It was craters, the bubbles making the craters. And then they put it in the sky to mock us for worshipping the sun. And of course, he then called me the idiot because I said, no, it's just Earth's natural satellite. Yeah.
And how did you substantiate that claim? Okay, I'll take everything as read in terms of your decrying of some notion, ad hoc explanation from a kook, also a flat earther. But you say it's a body in orbit. I say orbits is derived from the ephemeris angle measurements of a flat earth to give Kepler his mathematics to invent orbits. So they have their genesis in a flat earth measurement, which would decry your statement and ultimately expose it as a reification fallacy. No. Kepler's orbital motion is a mathematical derivation of flat earth measurements, undermining the notion that we could be on a curved surface with orbital motion going around us. The descriptions utilise the angles. Angles off a flat earth? Well, no, definitely not. Obviously, Craig's not going to substantiate his baseless assertion. Me, I can undermine it without any substantiation from him, because it relies on a genesis of a flat earth measurement.
I wonder if Craig is going to talk about when he debated for the third time the flat earther Brian's logic, and where you had to tell a lie and show a fraudulent photograph. Is he going to mention that? Is he going to mention when the flat earther, the kooky flat earther he met Mitchell from Australia, absolutely wiped the floor with him? Or when Nathan Oakley made a fool out of him? Or when Quantum Racer absolutely pulverized him? Is he going to mention any of that?
of course not.
No.
Right, let's do a quick call
He's going to
to action.
mention. He's not going to mention Anthony Riley or anyone else. He's going to mention Flat Earth Jesus, some crazy idiot who comes up with crazy ideas.
Right, let's just do our call to action. So there's 125 people watching. Very warm welcome to all of you. Please share the show if you've not done so already. 127 people watching. There is a link going by for all of you in the live stream audience now. So please toddle along to FTFE channel and let the videographer, which is Craig, know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me and explain that we have responded to his video in the nicest possible way so your comment doesn't get deleted. The idea being that if Craig was to do a response to our video, he'd put a link to my video, offering up some assistance in the YouTube algorithmic love that we definitely do not receive from YouTube. Hopefully that's bought enough time for people to actually go and do that. Hopefully a few of you will. Obviously come back afterwards.
Yeah, there's the crazy, a lot of crazy. How would you respond to something like that?
Well, I'm afraid a lot of it is a mental illness, actually. And that's the problem.
Maybe. I mean, this guy does sound like a nutter.
I think there are certain flat earthers I slightly suspect of being...
Is Tom Jolly a psychologist?
No, I don't think he has any medical accreditation as far as I'm aware. Shout out to the Dominic. I saw you on the Final Experiment YouTube channel. Are you going? That'd be awesome. Haha. Am I going? No. No, I'm not going anywhere. I've got my own show. I'm running it right now. You saw me on there, though. That makes no sense because I haven't been there. Hopefully, if they've been using my material, they'll put a link to my channel, as I'm appealing to Craig to do, as I send an audience to him.
Into it just to be contrarians, really, because it's
Thank you for the super chat, by the way.
kind of the most extreme thing you could possibly think of, really. It goes against our entire belief system, really. And so certainly there were a couple of...
That was very telling also. So flat earth goes against your belief system. Yeah, it does. Yeah, your belief in a sphere derived from flat earth measurements. It very much contradicts that belief system you have. I don't have a belief, surprisingly. People think that I've got a belief in a flat earth. I don't. It's just measured that way. That's how earth is dealt with. Go on, Brian, before I press play.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
That's all right.
Yeah, now I do. Now I remember. If I was going to talk about globe earthers, would I continually go to the globe earthers who said the stupidest things ever to me? Because I have literally comments that I can show. No, I would go to just the general globe earthers, and I wouldn't need to misrepresent them because the general globe earthers themselves enough. I don't need anything other than that. I don't need to find some kooky, crazy idiot in amongst the group. The group themselves and exactly what they do and how they do it is all I need to show that my opposition are crazy, are like no, I won't say crazy, are religious believers. I don't need to go to any particular kooky guy who told me some stupid thing that I was like probably yesterday because I get told stupid things daily. I don't need to do that. I can just show them a whole broad spectrum of information. Do you know what I mean?
Pretty telling, right?
Hold on, I'm getting something in my earpiece. Sorry, what was that? Oh, right, okay. Yeah, we're going to transition now to our foreign correspondent, Quantum Eraser, in a prison in Kansas, who there is an interview taking place with what is that? An atheist religious believer about witnessing the eclipse. Oh, excellent. We'll go to Quantum Eraser now. How are you, Quantum Eraser? Oh, we seem to have technical problems with Quantum Eraser. We'll come back to that section later.
philosophy professors in North America that kind of, I think, did it almost as a philosophical experiment about, like, what's the most ludicrous thing we can propose, and then let's argue it. And I think it started like that. I think a lot of these things, a lot of conspiracies start as jokes or in jokes or sarcastic references online in places.
Really? See, the globe conspiracy started with a notion of prediction in terms of dates. Someone talking in the background? Reg, go ahead. Reg?
I got technical difficulties.
Reg, are you just hot micing, my friend? Reg, can you hear me? You're hot micing.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Pop yourself on mute. Unless you've got some... Did you want to add something? Also, Plum Bob, did you want to add something? Plum Bob? Causing a bit of audio chaos with yourself off mute. Did you want to add something?
Mic discipline.
Plum Bob, hello? Ugh. Dominic, thank you again for the super chat. They invited you to Antarctica. I don't want to go to Antarctica. Not in the slightest. But obviously, if someone's invited me along to Antarctica, then fair enough. I haven't received my invite, Dominic. Or the Dominic. Thank you for the super chat. Edda Bear, can you pop yourself on mute unless you've got something to add? Thank you.
And then, like everything, 10 to 20% of people take things seriously. In my book, I found a conspiracy called Finland Doesn't Exist. And basically, the theory was that Finland, the country, doesn't exist. Russia and Japan had conspired to invent a country in 1917 so they could have fishing rights. And that started off as a Reddit thread, as a joke. But of course, people took that and then took it seriously. And by the time
And therefore, flat Earth is basically the same. It's a Reddit joke. No, it isn't. It's the origins of your globe belief.
I got to Finland, if it was Finland, you know, Finns had heard of it and everything. So, yeah, I mean, you know, conspiracy theories are funny. And that's why I wrote the book. But they're not funny. In the old days, conspiracy theories were kind of innocent. You know, did we land on the moon? I don't give a shit. I mean, we obviously did, but I don't really give a shit.
So you don't give a shit, but you know that you did. You wouldn't care either way if you didn't care. But you know that they went to the moon. Shall we enlighten Dom? Anybody want to take the reins? If not, I will.
Yeah, it is obviously. I'm not worried about that. I don't care whether they did or didn't, but they definitely did, because if they didn't, that'd be a major problem for me psychologically. That's what I'm hearing.
No.
Not that I'm a psychologist.
I meant, did anybody want to categorically and conclusively debunk the notion that we have been through a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, to get to the moon?
Yeah. Oh, no. If a sky vacuum existed, then the gases we breathe would have instantly, they never would have, you can't create pressure in a vacuum. It would be impossible. It would have, any gas particle that may have been created would have instantly diffused into an area of zero resistance, more or less. That's what gas does. No, that place doesn't exist.
Yeah. So the journey to the moon, Dom, was claimed to take place via a sky vacuum called outer space. Now, if the sky was a vacuum, as is claimed to be the area traversed to get to the moon, then the gas, which we're breathing at high pressure, would have never developed in the first instance. The very first gas particle to depart from the surface of Earth would have vacated into the area of volume known as a sky vacuum, never to return. That's what gas does. It expands at a high rate of speed into whatever volume it has available to it. So if the sky was an available volume, as is claimed to be traversed for a trip to the moon, then the gas would fill the space and we'd all be dead. Your notion of this area of volume that people travel through, the high pressure gas, passing it by as they wave it goodbye, looking back at it in the sky vacuum, it's all garbage. It's a violation of natural law. Yeah, gas dispersion, second law of thermodynamics. These are things that occur always. Gas always fills space. There is no sky vacuum. There is no trip to the moon. Every single claim, garbage, nonsense about it, was claimed to have taken place in a sky vacuum and is automatically debunked by the second law of thermodynamics. There was no trip to the moon, and have never been to the moon.
Well, can gas pressure naturally form in a vacuum?
No.
Or would that be a contradiction?
Can't even have a vacuum without containment.
Yeah, and vacuums don't. Vacuums, yeah, you need a container for a vacuum. But the thing, it's a contradiction, because gas pressure. The whole point of a vacuum is that it doesn't have a high concentration of gases. Do you know what I mean? That's the point of it. It's a very, 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 very low concentration of gas, if any. Do you know what I mean? So how are you going to form? Well, is there gas pressure in a vacuum? Yes, you can say everything we call a vacuum, regardless of what Tor value you give it. If it has a Tor value, then it has pressure. It's just the pressure is so low that if we were in this 14.7 or 760 Tor that we live in at present, there'd be no way that 760 Tor would not instantly diffuse into the 10 to the minus 17 Tor vacuum that's claimed to be surrounding us. It just would not. It's just not possible for that not to happen if that scenario was correct.
So you're saying gas will behave like gas? It'll fill the available volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigfoot, Don't know if that's a conspiracy. Is Elvis still alive? And then in about 2015, conspiracies jumped the shark and kind of became part of the body politic and kind of got a bit more serious, actually, and a bit more dangerous with people like Donald Trump fully embracing them and Kellyanne Conway saying things like alternative facts. And yeah, it got very bad. So I think they're not funny anymore.
No, you're
and
right.
That's why I don't have a problem with flat Earth.
He doesn't have a problem with flat Earth.
Yeah, that's why he's there.
I take the differ.
Exactly.
Well, you know what is a massive conspiracy in 2024? This claim that when you're sailing towards the horizon, you're actually sailing over the curve of the globe Earth. That's a conspiracy I think needs to be put to bed.
Yeah, the reification of a Keplerian model.
There's like, I bumped into a couple in Chester. They're just, they're preaching their stuff. I mean, who cares really? But actually, I think it is important to stand up for truth. There's a real kind of anti-expert thing going on, an anti-science thing, and I think that's really dangerous.
No, you're absolutely 100% right. The majority of flat earther, for me, for people like me and Simon Dan and MC Toon, is it's comedy, it's entertainment. But you're absolutely 100% right that there is a dangerous side to it. That you lead to other conspiracies like against medicine that can save people's lives, and
it's a gateway drug. Gateway drug to other conspiracies. 1 minute you're dealing with elevation angle measurements to Polaris to form a flat Earth grid system. Next thing you know, you're on heroin. I mean, dealing with Mandela effect.
Sorry, Nathan. These guys are saying, it don't matter to them. And Don Johnny's saying, it doesn't matter to me either way, when it obviously causes them serious problems. And FTFE is there going, yeah, it's just entertainment. If it's entertainment, then how come you put such effort into it? And you go as far as literally lying, trying to lie your way through a debate because you're losing it so bad on the topics of geometry and physics. Tell us about that, Chris.
Isn't it us that always hold them to the standards of science, and they the ones that said that science doesn't prove anything? I'm pretty sure that he was one of the ones that said that science doesn't prove to the flat earthers. So how is we being science deniers when we holding science to its absolute standard of using the scientific method? Anything within natural science needs experiment in order to prove the cause of the effect. We actually apply the logic of non-contradiction, and they're the ones that say that science doesn't prove anything.
Yep, they're talking about because science to them is pseudoscience. So what they're claiming is science is pseudoscience. And that doesn't prove anything. And we all hold them to task on that. Yeah, no, what you're claiming, Craig, is pseudoscience. And that doesn't prove anything. So pseudoscience doesn't prove anything. Actual natural science only proves or disproves. That's all it does. Sorry, Neil.
But to be fair, my son was saying way before flat Earth that science only disproves. I can remember him saying that.
But just to give it a bit of history on that, they used to say that science didn't prove anything. Then they said science only disproves things because that's the not understanding hypothesis tests. And to disprove is to prove, right? So if I prove if I prove something is not the cause of something else, then I've proven it's not the cause. This natural effect or a natural cause is not the effect. It's not this natural force is not causing this natural effect, whichever, right? So I've proven that. That's a proof, right? So to say just disprove, and suddenly they realized, right, we're not understanding that there's a lot more hypotheses tests that the null will be proven in as opposed to the alternative. Why? Because you might have to test 4, 5, 6, 10 different things before you get to the cause, the actual cause, of what's causing the effect. So yeah, you'll have a lot more null proven, but they're still proven. So if I prove something didn't cause something, then I've proven that's not causing that. That's a proof. Don't need to go back on it.
Shout out to Tom. He says, on the one hand, Glurfs say, this is basic high school science, end quote. On the other hand, they say, the literal definition of science is only for high schoolers. Grow up. Which is it? I'll give you the super chat.
The realm of being much more dangerous than funny. And I always feel like flat Earth is almost a gateway conspiracy. If you can believe that the Earth is flat, then that clearly means everybody is lying to you, and that...
No. We quite categorically deter people from appealing to motivation. If we demonstrate that Earth is measured flat, that's it. Cast iron, stone cold proof that that is how Earth is measured, if we show that it's measured in that way. What's that? There must be why would they lie? I don't care. I've just shown you a measurement of something. Your concern about everybody having to be lying to you is your concern. And this projection onto us, because somehow now we need to answer why 10,000 NASA employees would be lying. No, those are just your feeble concerns with the awful truth that might befall you if you had to consider it. Now, that is why you fight the flat Earth, Craig. So you never have to do that, because it would be awful for you to worry about everyone else's motivation. We don't concern ourselves. Far from it. We just demonstrate Earth is measured flat. That's what we do. Do I care about whether or not... No, I don't care if NASA employees are lying or not. I mean, I can prove categorically that the astronauts are lying. They're not in a sky vacuum, an area akin to Narnia in violation of natural law. If they say they're floating around in space, I say they're liars. Because they are. Demonstrably. But it doesn't help me in my quest to prove Earth's measured flat. I'll just use measurements for that. Doesn't matter. I don't appeal to anybody's motivation about lying. Ask them. If you conclude that they must be lying. Me, I don't care.
Opens up the avenue to everything else being fake, and like you said, it then leads into the realms of mental illness, and it can be...
Yeah, like conspiracy cats talked about in the third person also, right? Well, it would mean that you'd have to start questioning all these other things. You'd have sleepless nights. Yeah, it could lead to mental illness. You see, we ascribe that as your pain, though, don't we, Craig? Yeah? It's not my pain. I'm not worried about the conspiracies of lies. I'm not knocking on NASA's door asking me why I've shilled for them and invested so heavily in them when they've just been deceiving me about the sky vacuum that violates the law of nature. No, I'm not doing that. I don't care. You care. But because you care, you suddenly feel in your, position of authority, you can demand flat earthers explain why people would be lying? Well, you go ahead. You appeal to that motive. You use that fallacy as pain relief. Because that's all it is. You and your pain and your concerns about what might be if the devastating facts of Earth being measured flat were true. That's not a true or false scenario. It's not a believe or disbelieve situation. It's a measurement of Earth, utilised in your globe faith.
Well, I can tell you why they would lie, because Craig literally lied in a debate I had with him, the last one I had and probably will ever have with the guy. Right? Craig literally lied. He showed a fraudulent photograph and lied. Right? Why did he lie? Because he had to. That's why. To keep his globe faith somewhat alive.
Concerning.
He was caught out in the debate, thanks to Spot On and Bev. But he did lie. So why would they lie? You tell me, Craig, because you were caught lying.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I found is that gateway drug's the right word. I mean, I
down to 20% intelligibility because of his crap internet connection as well.
I found a very weird correlation between belief in new age hippie type shit and conspiracies. And then, so to me, crystals are a gateway drug. If anybody in your family...
Crystals are a gateway drug. I did it in comedic irony. Now he is literally associating crystals with a flat earth. This is your mind on crystals. This is your mind on flat earth. Right, Dom?
Your friends start collecting crystals, then they're soon going to be going down the rabbit hole.
1 minute it's crystals, Next thing you know, it's 9/11. Before you know it, it's Mandela, and then flat Earth. Oh my God!
yeah. Before you know it, you're measuring elevation angles to Polaris with a flat plane.
It's all conspiracy. Why would they lie?
Talking about sextants.
Talking about sextants. Avert my ears.
It is odd. Like once people believe in one theory,
Right, you obviously don't understand science either, demonstrating his own ignorance. Theory? What, like the result of scientific experimentation, empirical in nature? Oh, you mean your Mystic Meg theories? Your colloquial theories? Your incorrect ascribing of theories to models and mathematics derived from flat Earth measurements? Those sort of theories? Mystic Meg theories, we call them.
they tend to go for the whole lot. And I think it's one of the really depressing things about conspiracy theories, because I'm certainly not claiming that conspiracies have not existed with conspiratorial people. Companies and corporations have behaved terribly, but that's a crime often, not a conspiracy.
Is that just poor internet connection, or was that an edit? I have to look at that later.
And governments have behaved incredibly badly, so vote them out or, lock them up. But it's not always a conspiracy. I think that's the problem. And the problem with a conspiracist mindset is that you start to just think everyone is evil. Everyone's hiding stuff.
Or this is a stereotyping fallacy. So do you think everyone's evil, Brian?
Well, there's a group of people out there who think that I'm telling lies when I say that the horizon is not the edge of a globe Earth that you can sail over.
And that makes you evil?
Well, as far as they're concerned, I must be lying. So why would I lie, Nathan?
According to them, you need rehab. Rehab, Brian.
Yeah, but they're the ones with the conspiracy, Reg, because they're the ones claiming in 2024 that you can sail over the horizon because it's the leading edge of a globe Earth.
Yeah, we debunked that in 2024. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to the horizon could be measured no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet as laid down in Earth curve mathematics. Distance to horizon in the black swan is beyond the geometric limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959, therefore the horizon is not Earth curve, and the Earth is not a sphere.
Well, let me put it to Reg. Sorry, Reg, go. I said go after. Go on.
I was going to say, instead of them dealing with that, they rather call us conspiracy theorists, and instead of basically dealing with an argument at hand. Wow, poison in the well.
Well, what's a bigger conspiracy, Reg? That is it a bigger conspiracy that the horizon is not a location that you can sail over, or that the horizon is a location that you can sail over? Is he saying that the horizon is an optical dissolution point created by weather and optics and whatever else elevation? Is that a conspiracy, or is it a conspiracy that someone is saying that it's actually the leading edge of a globe Earth you can sail over?
Well, one is used in practical application. The other is a baseless assertion that we've debunked in 2024.
No, 2020 and before that.
2020, sorry.
Well, actually 2015. And actually technically a long time before that, because they could never prove this. And they never, because it's not true. But the point is that which one is the conspiracy? Which one is, right? Is it reality that the horizon is some kind of optical phenomenon created by weather and optics? Or is it that it's the leading edge of a globe Earth?
No, we can show how the leading edge of a globe Earth came from flat Earth measurements of surface level and eye level. Ergo, the conspiracy is to assert the reification of a geometric sphere edge horizon below surface level, later to be refracted beyond any geometric considerations for a globe Earth, annihilating their positive assertion in the first instance. That's the full rendition of the annihilation and death of the globe. So, ergo, to answer your question, the globe Earth is the conspiracy. Earth is just measured flat for navigation. That's not like some outrageous claim. That's actually how it's dealt with.
Yeah, because there is a conspiracy that there is boats sailing over the horizon, and because it's the leading edge of a globe Earth.
Yeah, it's just them. They're just facing the awful truth of their conspiracy, and they need to project it onto their opponents.
Everyone's lying.
Hold on.
And that's just such a deeply depressing worldview, and it's also total bollocks, because
Yeah, depressing. This is projection, Dom. You are depressed about this, not us. Me? When I started this show, I don't know if you were here, Brian, when I did this, but I'm like moaning about the general things in life, like very much a first world problem, coffee machine problems, tumble dryer problems, things like that, right? That just nag at you and make you irritated and on edge, right? Those are the things that stress me out. Flat Earth, on the other hand, beyond the show, be honest, Brian, do you spend a lot of time worrying about Flat Earth?
I don't worry about it at all. I don't have to worry about it. It's measured. You know what I
Me
mean?
neither. Now, once you know how it's measured, that is how Earth is. And it is that way to create a globe, Faith. So for me, do I now suddenly concern myself with the lies that might be befalling me? No, life ticks along just the way it was, and all you numpties still believe in a globe anyway. You know, the fact that people like Dom Jolly are realising the awful truth slowly and realising how horrifying it is and projecting that out onto people he paints as numpties and stereotypes as being the entire idea. Well, you can do what you like, Dom. Me, I don't lose any sleep over this. Kids waking me up is, you know, about as troublesome as my sleep patterns get. As opposed to, oh my God, what if they are lying? Which is what you are saying. I know you're saying it's us and the implications of what we do, but they're very much the words coming out of your own mouth, my friend. Depressing, stressful, all these words, yeah? Yeah. Also bollocks. Which bit? Just decry a measurement of a latitude and I'll call it quits. I'll shut my channel. How about that?
Well,
Yeah, like nobody's worried
Nathan,
about this stuff. Like
go on.
nobody's walking around banging on people's doors or demanding answers from NASA. We just know that the Earth is flat, is measured flat. This is the practical use, is used for practical navigation, and we know, and we able to rest with that. We're not even, bothering people that believe in the globe. They're going to believe in
Yeah.
it anyway. If we do come across the conversation,
Exactly. We're not there
if we
with
come across
pitchforks
the
and torches,
conversation, we're going to tell
right?
them our belief.
The people who go to NASA with pitchforks and torches are these guys. The ones invested in NASA. Yeah? If you're invested and you figure out that you've bought all the shares and worked all the hours and put all the effort in it and they've robbed your pension, you'll be the one at their doorstep with pitchforks and torches, demanding answers from liars. No, we've grown up. We're not children. We're not stupid. If you figure out someone's a liar, you don't go knocking on their door asking for answers, because you know what they'll give you? More lies! And if you're invested, you might be of the ilk, like Craig, to develop some of those lies on their behalf for monetary incentive on YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're the ones that need to worry about it.
Unfortunately,
Hold on, just let Reg go.
True.
Reg, go ahead.
I was going to say they're the ones that need to worry about it. They got entire channels and they got a whole livelihood to basically, keep it going. So if they find out that it's false, they're the ones that had the dilemma. It's not, us, the flat earthers. We just know this is the way it's measured. We know what NASA actually admitted, or how they actually, how their system actually work using flat earth measurements as well. So, these are the things that they have to deal with. And once we get a good understanding of what it is, we just move on with our life and like, oh, well, we've figured out the earth is flat. Well, that's that. I guess, they have to
And
deal
that's
with
a
that.
good.
I'm not invested with NASA.
That's a good point, which leads me to see, because it's flat. That's why you could say that. The people that don't know it's flat, they do go banging on NASA's door, and they want to bring NASA to court. And unfortunately, the person that represents flat earthers on his most recent debate does bang on NASA's door. So we're lumped in with it. Sorry.
Right, second super chat in
Well,
this sentiment. Hold on, just let me shout out the super chat. Shout out to Joe. Has anyone mentioned the final experiment yet? Question mark. You were invited, Nathan. Okay, number one. No, it wasn't. Nobody's invited me to anything. You telling me that I was invited doesn't mean I was invited. So an invitation is something that I would receive that said, would you like to do something or not? Please RSVP. That's an invite. Now, if you're suggesting, and I can only read between the lines, that someone's made a video, and in their video that I absolutely haven't watched and I'm totally unaware of, have said, I invite Nathan to do something, that's not an invite. Yeah, it's like writing down a letter to the Queen and saying, should say King now, isn't it? She's dead. Wouldn't be a great example. You write a letter to the King and say, I invite you to X. X being an event that you are holding, and then you don't mail it and go, oh, of course I invited you. Here it is, here's the invite. There it says right there, look, RSVP. Oh, well, I didn't receive it. So if I haven't received an invite, yeah, it's like information. There has to be a reciprocant. I haven't been that reciprocant for some invite to a experiment, final experiment. Maybe if you are of the ilk, thank you for the super chat, but maybe you could let me know from the chat what the dependent variable was. Obviously, we talk quite extensively here on the show about experiments. Yeah? So if I could just be made aware of what the dependent variable is, because if I was invited to an experiment, that would be the first question I'd be asking in response. What's the dependent variable? What are you studying exactly? Maybe you can let me know from the chat. Thank you for the super chat, Joe. Right, can we listen to at least a minute of this?
Summer work, won't you? Like Barbados or something.
Yeah, if I'm being invited to Antarctica, I've said many times, it's cold. I'm not a big fan of the cold.
Something. Yeah, if they're going to invite you to summer cold, why don't you be to San Moritz or, I don't know, somewhere? Skiing, something. Like, what are you going to do in Antarctica? What is there to do outside of sea penguins? Nothing, from what we're told.
I don't know. There's some hot spots there.
Yeah. Am I the guy saying there's a 74,000-mile ice wall that I need to justify? And if they are going to take me because I am that guy making that claim, I'm not. Are we going to traverse around the whole of the shelf? You know, that's going to take quite a long time. I mean, I'm not one of the people making the claims there's an ice wall in Antarctica or that there should be experimentation going on there or even any phenomena to observe down there. What phenomena are we observing? Maybe a 24-hour sun. Could you show us that? Maybe that'll be the final experiment.
But surely if there was a 24-hour sun, like, they'd be videoing it all the time. There'd be no need for any fraudulent videos. No need. No, it doesn't matter if there is. I don't care. But the point being is, why would you make a load of fraudulent videos if something is real? Do we need to make a fraudulent video, 10 fraudulent videos on the existence of tables? No.
Moreover, when you say make fraudulent videos, no, by the contrast and compare, there are plenty of videos describing flat Earth measurements of elevation angles. That's why we're still here. We are deeply intertwined in terms of the genesis of the globe claim. You can't censor out of existence the nature of Earth. Earth is flat. And it's how it's dealt with, specifically in this current comparison in 2024, by navigators. So what are you going to do when you decide, oh no, we're just going to censor out of existence these dangerous crackhead-producing nutters, as Dom Jolly seems to suggest we are? Surely, if we're dangerous, you just put a big fat line through us. Right? I'm sure there's plenty of things that aren't allowed on YouTube. Pornography, for a start. Not allowed. Just draw a line through it, right? Just turn that off. Not allowed. Why are we still here then, given that it's so easy to eradicate dangerous things like flat Earth? It's because your genesis of a globe claim comes from those measurements of a flat Earth. They're detailed specifically in Navigator's videos. And they're not even mentioning flat Earth. They're just measuring it flat. Like we declare. What are you going to do? Get rid of those dangerous navigators when they talk about how they measure Earth flat? Because they do. It's the origin of your globe claim that you're all worried about. Let's get back onto this Dom Jolly video.
Is that 24-hour sun another globe conspiracy?
Yeah, well, about that conspiracy, there is no 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
Because most people I know are generally good. And actually, I've met a lot of people in power. And actually, the idea that these
Oh, yeah? Name 3.
people can run these sophisticated conspiracies is just so fucking insane. They can't run a parking system normally. So that's my big problem with a lot of conspiracies is the amount of people necessary to keep a lid on it. It's just insane.
Is that appeal to motivation again, or is it appeal to consensus? So many people need it. I think that's going to appeal to consensus.
Well, how many world leaders and governmental bodies were involved in claiming that there was WMDs in Iraq? And there wasn't. So someone said that's a conspiracy. Someone said there isn't WMDs. They're only going in there to do other things. Would they have been right or wrong? You know what I mean? Just as an example. That's not what. Is it a conspiracy that they didn't find WMDs? No. Is it a conspiracy that they never had any evidence of WMDs? No. So What's he talking about? There's no end of evidence of people in power collaborating to fool the public. That's why they're in power. Like, that's what these people do.
Insane. And the idea that Donald Trump, when he was president, would have had knowledge of all these things and couldn't, and the fact that he wouldn't.
I know. Was he one of the guys that you met? Did you ask him? 2 questions. Compound. Obviously, he's not here to respond. But you said you've met lots of famous people, powerful people. Is he one of them? Did you ask him? If not, this is nonsensical. Another shout out to Joe. The most recent video explains the whole experiment. Okay, I'm not subscribed. Maybe someone who's gone to the effort of presumably using my name or my material would like to actually come and talk to me, given that I run a daily live show with a link to the public. Or maybe not. I mean, maybe it should be me going to the effort. Thank you for the super chat.
Have told us, come on. I mean, guy can't keep his mouth shut about anything.
Exactly. There's a sect of flat earthers that were convinced that Donald Trump was a flat earther and was going to announce it to the world. Because he said some crazy things that they partly agreed with. And, therefore he must know the actual truth. But obviously that never happened.
Could you be any more vague? Could you give us the example? What's he talking about?
I've never heard that, not one time. Didn't hear one flat earther ever say that Donald Trump was a flat earther and he was going to announce anything. Never heard that. I talk to flat earthers every day.
It does.
Donald Trump was never known the truth.
About 7 years ago, and he replied, of course it's flat, I fly everywhere all the time. It was a throwaway remark. You can read into it what you want. He didn't confirm it, but he didn't deny it. He just made a statement of truth, which is he flies everywhere all the time.
Donald Trump said that, Adam.
Long time ago, that was. That's like...
So why would Craig negate to mention the fact that he specifically stated, of course it's flat, I fly everywhere? He just...
Yeah.
Why did he leave that bit out, I wonder?
Well, that kind
Mike
of changes
Tyson
things.
said that too.
So flat
Mike
earthers
Tyson
weren't
said
going
that.
around saying it. Sorry, Reg.
I was saying Mike Tyson said that too. That he thought it was flat because of flying until
but
he I
that's-
think he was
That's what I
talking to
said.
somebody.
When I first came to this subject, it was the first thing I appealed to. I appealed to my, as though this is slightly askew from that, my understanding of heliocentric rhetoric was to say that I appreciated that the left to right axis curvature was not visible from 30,000 feet. So me, bored out of my brain, travelling from country to country to meet the rich people that were buying my product, I looked out the back window and went, God, I wish I could go higher. Why was I asking or dreaming about going higher? To see the Earth curve. Well, you might say, well, how is that you recognising Earth's flat? It's because that's what I'm actually saying, isn't it? Read between the lines in my cognition, in my thought process, when I'm saying I wish I could go higher to see it curving. AKA, I'm not seeing it curving. There is no visible curve. Look how flat it is.
This is sorry.
Go on, Adam.
So this is the trouble, isn't it? This is when we reify the horizon, it's kind of a gateway to other conspiracies, like believing you can travel into a second law of thermodynamics violation. That's that first thing. Before we enter flat Earth, we are reifying the horizon. That's what Nathan's looking at. That demarcation point, he thinks then is Earth curve, but why is it not bending? That's
Exactly.
a gateway.
It's gateway. Next thing you know, you're believing in second law of thermodynamics violations, areas of volume. It's a gateway drug. This is your brain on Earth curve. This is your brain on space.
I said the same thing, Nathan. Back in the year 2000, going to Australia, and the only time I got to see any consistent daylight throughout the flight was when I was flying over across Australia from Hong Kong. And I remember being sad, or being not sad, but disappointed, looking out, seeing no Earth curve in any way. There was no clouds because there's very little cloud over the outback, and it's just a massive desert. And seeing just for endless, nearly, for whatever my eyes could see, nothing but a flat plane. And I remember thinking, I won't see any Earth curve now because I was going to Sydney. So I was thinking, well, I suppose Australia just must be a really flat country.
That's what I
No,
used to think.
Brian, it's
Yeah.
all flat, bozo. Go on.
Yeah, exactly. Flying across Europe and you're flying over the land itself. So it obviously does have topology. But I can remember the same thing going through on a really clear day. Wow, it's just massive and flat as the eye can see. Because that's what you're presented with. I mean, it's not a standard though, is it? I mean, now I would decry that if someone presented that and put it on the table as evidence. It's like, that's not evidence, right? Purely anecdotal. Right, give me your measurements. That would be what I'd be interested in today. But back then, what I would qualify as a tacit belief in flat Earth is what they're attacking, as though we have the same standards as they do. They've got a belief in the Earth curve derived from flat Earth measurements. As a result of those measurements, I no longer have a belief in anything in this regard. Don't need to. Nothing to believe in.
Well, I find it strange, just to go back to Donald, because it's connected to air travel, the Donald Trump statement. What they said is flat earthers going around saying that Donald Trump knows it's flat and he's going to be saying this, that, and the other thing, as opposed to the truth, which is Donald Trump actually came out and said, yeah, it's flat. I fly everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
but simultaneously, if push came to shove, he would absolutely prop up the Western world religion of a globe, because it's the Western world religion. He's the leader of the free world, and that's their current religion and rhetoric. So if he was charged with it, he'd go, of course I'm joking. Now that is their
we
point.
don't know what he do. I think they're taking a step too far there. I don't know what he do, but the point is that I'm only talking about what Craig and what they were speaking about, as opposed to the actual truth that Adam gave. No, flat earthers weren't going around making statements. Donald Trump made a statement that caused flat earthers to possibly make statements. I don't know, but Donald Trump did make a statement, because Adam is not a lawyer.
It was one of those trivium bits that we used to mention on Iron Realm. That's why it stayed in my head. Do you know what I mean? And
a quick shout out to Joel while you're figuring out what you're going to say. It's for sure. It's for the 24-hour sun, says Joel. Sorry for butchering your super chat. Thank you very much indeed. 24-hour sun, you say? Okay. I mean, I've had first-hand testimony of someone who spent 18 months down in Antarctica that there is no 24-hour sun. So, I mean, that's second-hand from me. You can listen to the personal testimony of Robert Shortman on Confessions of an Antarctic Plumber. But as I say, he spent an extended period down there. There was no 24-hour sun according to his account. What I actually asked for was the dependent variable, given that it's claimed to be an experiment. We'll see how I get on with that. Maybe you could super chat that. You don't have to super chat it, just stick it in the chat. Dependent variable for the experiment, please.
Well, why did they need you to go to Antarctica to prove whether there is or is not a 24-hour sun? That doesn't mean anything.
I don't know.
Why can't they just go and do it? End the argument. Like, why doesn't Wolfie just come up with the pitch data? End the argument. Why doesn't Celestial Navigators out there, like Proto, come up with, you know what I mean, a dip correction, come up with a way of measuring, you know what I mean? Where are they coming up with all this stuff? Can't come up with any of it. So you're supposed to go with them to Antarctica. And what will happen then if you don't see a 24-hour sun? Will it make any difference to you? No.
No, it's
So
still
you'll
be
be
measured
sitting there
flat.
in
The
a boat with a load of
latitude
guys
system would
crying.
still be... It's not something I lean on. So why I'm being drawn into this, I have no idea. Who cares?
Anyway,
But do you want to end up sitting in a boat? Sorry,
No,
just 1 second. Do you
not at
want
all.
a potential situation happen where you're sitting in a boat in a really cold place where
No.
a load of guys that are there with you are crying because they're risking the 24-hour sun?
No.
Is that something that you would consider a holiday?
Not at all. No. If someone offered it me, I'd decline.
Let's go to Mount Bay instead.
Oh, come on. We've got to do a bit more of this video.
I might actually start to believe him because he's consistently wrong on everything. So it's very odd.
Yeah, you better not say the Earth is globe. That might be worrying for everybody else.
Yeah.
But it is concerning that with all the information that's just at your fingertips in the world, that people can still fall into this. And I read a paper about the moon landing conspiracy and how many people would have to be involved, and they mathematically figured out that it...
I can go around on the appeal to motivation fallacy.
would be impossible to keep that information from the amount of people that would be involved, and then the amount of people that those people knew, and it would, it's just literally impossible to imagine that a secret that big could be compartmentalized so well and kept from so many people, and no one on their deathbed or anything has ever come out and said, yeah, absolutely, I never.
Who cares? Yeah, NASA, in their own documentation about aviation, talk about Earth as a horizontal, non-rotating plane. That's how NASA defines it.
Flat stationary.
Yeah, flat and stationary. In terms of how the systems that they use on their maps, they use a transverse Mercator as well. It's in their main control room. Transverse Mercators come from elevation angle measurements measured off a flat plane to Polaris. That's how that map's derived. That's its origins. Do I give a crap how many people would have to know or not know? No, I'm not interested in appealing to liars. Once I figured out that NASA were lying to me, yeah, not some individual in NASA and how many of them and how they may or may not know about it, I don't care. I knew that sky isn't a vacuum, and that was the end of my concern with NASA. They're liars. That's it. They punt the idea that the space above our head is an area of volume gas isn't filling. I don't need anything else from them. I know they're lying.
Can I ask you a question, Nathan?
Go ahead.
Would you be willing to go to Antarctica with these guys if before you go or just after you go, but before we better, maybe? It's up to you. If you had a 2-week holiday in Saint-Tropez.
Would I take a 2-week holiday in Saint-Tropez in exchange for a trip to Antarctica? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or the Amalfi Coast. In Italy or whatever. Yeah, I mean, if they want to go to Antarctica, surely they should sweeten the deal. They have to give you something.
Right, travel is not something you will... Number one, right? My wife has a job to convince me to go anywhere, right? She's told me literally yesterday, no, next year, we're definitely going on a foreign holiday. I'm like, oh, whatever. Now, she hasn't exactly had a great deal of foreign travel. Now, we're currently really poor, so, it's kind of out of the question because we just can't afford to do it. But she's keen to, is the point, regardless of our financial ability to do so. Smash the super chat if you're watching. Meanwhile, I have been all over the world. Like, all over. Yeah, when I talk about going to the back of the aeroplane, why do you think I was on the plane? I was going to all these different countries, flogging my wares. And when you're there with rich people, buying the most expensive product in your category, yeah, the people who you are actually dealing with, the friendlies, the people who are your dealers and your distributors and their customers that are very rich, will show you a very good time in very expensive places. So in terms of where I've been and what I've done it all for free, all over the world. So you saying, can I appeal to you to go to somewhere god-awful with nothing to do that's really cold? We invited you, but we didn't send you an invite. We made a video about you called An Experiment. And my only question to the people who have secondhand passed on information that apparently an invite didn't receive is, what's the dependent variable? I keep getting told what the premise that they're investigating is and how I'm somehow invited. Who cares? Just give us the dependent variable for the experiment. We'll ascertain whether or not it's got a worthy scientific methodology attached. We already know the answer. But me going down to Antarctica, no! Absolutely not. Got no desire whatsoever to do that. Thank you very much. Saint-Tropez, on the other hand, yes,
please. A 2-week family holiday to Saint-Tropez.
Yes, please.
Will you go then?
To Antarctica? No.
It's the people that have a belief. When you have a no-so, you don't have to go to Antarctica to prove what. We already proved Earth is flat.
Who's the fat ass with the wire fetish?
Say again?
Who's the fat ass with the wire fetish beside the mental incompetent?
Oh, who's Dom? You're asking who Dom Jolly is?
Yes. Is that
okay?
his
So
name?
Dom Jolly was popular in the, I'm going to say, late 90s, early 2000s with a show called Trigger Happy TV. And to be fair, it was very, very funny. It was of the moment. I'm sure if I was to play one of his sketches now, it may or may not hold up and it doesn't really matter. But back in the day, he was considered like a comic genius in terms of what he was doing on Trigger Happy TV. He was very, very popular. For an example, he would have somebody walking down the street, a narrow alley, filmed from above at a 45-degree angle. And as the person rounds the corner in the alley, he presumably radios to 100 people dressed in furry costumes who charge at the random member of the public who's just minding their own business, rounding a random corner they've probably rounded every day for the last year, coming home from work or whatever. Suddenly, they're being charged by 100 furries who just charge past them. And that, for whatever reason, when I was, however old I was, probably in my teens, very funny. Yeah? Other things,
Wow.
back in the 90s, when mobile phones were definitely not as popular as they are today, where everyone's got one, they were a fairly uncommon sight. And because it was an opulent item, very expensive, the people who used to have them, called yuppies by probably the Americans and the English, were those loud-mouthed people in a posh suit that would be talking abruptly and loudly on their phone for everyone else to hear their conversation. So what Dom Jolly would do is he'd go into a shopping centre, shopping mall, and get to the top of the escalator full of people in a suit, looking fairly dapper, not sort of a parody of what dapper would be, and you'd hear and then he would take out a 3.5 foot long mobile phone and go, "Hello, I'm just in the shopping market."
I can hardly control my laughter.
Yeah,
Point
I
is-
didn't find it funny either. I didn't watch.
That's
I
funny.
thought he
Come
was
on.
stupid.
That's funny.
I didn't. A lot of people liked the show. I didn't. Yeah, about it.
Is this TV show? Is this in England?
Yes, in England, yes.
It became popular in the US, I think, as well. I never paid any attention to it myself.
Dun, da, dun, dun, da, dun, 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 da, dun, dun, boom. Trigger Happy TV. Anyway.
They
Amazing.
went to the moon. It's all a lie. It's craziness, right?
Yeah, it is. But actually, the moon landing is really interesting because you can see exactly where that conspiracy comes from. Because the idea of landing on the moon is so, certainly in the 60s was so like, oh my God, it's a big step. Kennedy makes this massive speech
Nay, one giant leap.
at the beginning of the decade, just basically saying that he's in a race with the Soviets. He's saying by the end of the decade, America will land on the moon. And suddenly you're getting to 1969, you're running out of time. And they just squeeze it in. So you can see, you think, fuck.
Ugh, God, this is boring. Summarising the official narrative of the second law of thermodynamics violating sky vacuum trip to the moon. How boring. Right, I think we're probably done with this now. We've only done about half, but my stomach's pretty much churned over enough. 144 people watching. Wow. Thank you very much to all of you. Smash the share button. Anybody got any last remarks before we round out the live show?
I thought it was a good video to review. I think we should do the other half of it tomorrow or something because.
Oh, we're in
Because,
politics. We're in politics Discord server tomorrow, so there'll be heated discussion between us and probably a few fundies. Any last remarks on this discussion, though, from Dom Jolly and Fight the Flat Earth?
Just to say that they're so concerned about why the lie. So I'd like to wish them luck on their quest to find out. Hopefully they can let us know when they do.
Yeah. And did Craig ask Dom Jolly to put his hand out in front of him? Is that your hand?
No, definitely not your hand.
It's not.
No. Right, as always, in the live stream chat, there is a link going by to Fight the Flat Earth's video interview with Dom Jolly. So please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice polite comment to help FTFE along in the YouTube algorithm. The idea being that if he were to respond, he would put a link to our video in his. So with that, I'm going to say if you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Stream, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, gifted out memberships, hit me up on Ko-Fi and PayPal, earned me money to shill for Flat Earth and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I'll see you all in the next video.